started these yesterday. It's this mom camp for the swelling. Yeah, could finally get surgery next Tuesday. I'm gonna wind up with more surgeries because the bone's gonna heal up and they're gonna have to break it to fix it because the healing already started. Healing starts right away because it's a natural thing for our body to heal ourselves. Sorry, I'm a little winded. Sorry, Wade. My this thinking walker kept catching on my fixator. What the heck is that? Well, I'll be right back. That was my wife calling. She went to call my daughter. She gave me ice water and she makes a good rice. That's what she made me. Yeah, I ate this yesterday. I ate this yesterday. It's rice and chicken. My wife knows how to cook. But yeah, I pulled my going to the bathroom. I pulled my fixator, so it's I gotta call this number because it's like that far pulled away because it got caught on holding my walker. So I wasn't feeling pain until I had to go take number two, and that was hard. I almost lost my balance a couple times waiting. And yes, I wash my hands. I always wash my hands. Plus, I have hand sanitizer here. But this is a long stretch ahead I got. But I just wanted to let everybody know. Look, I'm trying my best. Hey, buddy, to deal where I fit in place in this house. You know, like the good book says, it says be well, wife, be submissive to the husband, but treat your wife like you would the church. I understand what that means, but if you don't take it in action, it falls apart. Now there's a problem with leadership in my house because I didn't take the father and the husband leadership. I put wife on the pedestal instead of God. That's why I was fighting like tooth and nail just to get ahead. Now I'm gonna have to fight tooth and nail to get out of this mess. But God, I believe you will help me because I can't do this myself. Hey, you're not going to be able to eat them. I don't know how long you guys are going to be going. Do you really want to put that on there?
I ain't worried about it.
All right, splash because the bars. Oh,
I see. Squeegee, wait, nice. Let it go. Drop it. Let it rest. There you go.
I know. I don't know why it turned to. I was
It's your
telling.
leg. It's normal.
Oh, okay.
It's nothing.
All right. I wasn't sure what was going on.
It's just normal. Even if you didn't have this on your leg, you still tilt a little bit. It's nothing.
Well, I talked to the drill sergeant earlier,
I'm leaving.
Joey.
Oh.
Yeah, that didn't go as bad as I thought. So I was telling him the process I'm going through. He said, "Listen, where's your goals?" I didn't even think of that part yet. I'm just like I'm under God's command. But
Come on. That's what I've been doing slowly. Not every night, but when I can remember.
look, this is the most I've seen you do for me in a long time, and I just want to let you know I really appreciate it.
Oh my
I was the problem for a long time, and now that I'm resting and can't do anything,
God. This is for Joey.
I understand.
That's funny.
Oh, you're gonna give me a pen and paper so I can write down my goals. I gotta come up with it first. And I said, Joey, I gotta come up with it first. You know what he says? He says, well, Dad, it starts with a pen and piece of paper. And I'm like, he said, I don't want to hear any more of the stuff that you're talking. I want to hear written out goals, what you're gonna start, what you're gonna finish, what you're gonna do. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, I have mine. Right
I might, I might have to use the crutches because I keep forgetting about this.
here.
Hold that. Thank
It's
you,
your
Joey.
food. That's for Joey. Right. Bye, look.
Totally was falling over.
Look, ice water. Drink this tea, and then there's the ice one.
Okay.
Bye, look. There's
Well, I love you, honey.
TV box.
And where the heck did that thing go?
I don't know. You're right now. Bye, look.
I love you. Yeah, great. I guess no TV. Well, it looks like Joey got approved for another credit card. I wish I could get it. Where the heck did the TV box go? Oh, there it is. Now I'm getting chilly. Gotta turn this off. It's cold in here. Ah, ah. I'm telling you, it ain't easy. I gotta write down goals. I was gonna share with my son what I'm gonna do and how I understand what happened. Because the funniest thing is I came up with the understanding that if I would have went to his birthday party and I wouldn't have drank, I might have not jumped where I jumped, but where I was going to jump could have been worse. It could have been a jagged rock, and a jagged rock would have been a more severe broken leg. The other thing is, what if I didn't go at all? I could have walked outside, and the way that people drive around here and stuff, could have got hit by a car and be paralyzed. Who knows? I went to jail already for it's stupid traffic fine at school fine. You know, God tried to reach me there. He got me, but I fell away. Then, when anxiety got too bad, and I didn't even know what I was doing last year, I was in a messed up state of mind. I went to the. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. The nut ward, and that's when I first realized what kind of person I was. Then I was changed. But when you change, you're still going to reap what you sow. So as these past months, all my past, my wife was bringing it up, bringing it up, bringing it up. You know, when I was with that other girl, brought it up where I talked to the other girl, brought it up where I was talking to girls online, and I was wrong. To be honest, I know I have to take accountability for it. Like someone shooting somebody has to do it a long time. It's like you ask them, and I know they didn't really mean to do it. They were just, it was at the moment, the timing, and everything, and with their thoughts and everything in mind that was scrambled, I'm sure, did something stupid. The same thing what I did. I did something stupid. I have to reap and sow, and I know I have to reap and sow for the rest of my life. But it doesn't have to be as painful as it is or was. I just have to come to the conclusion that I was wrong in what I did, which I admit that. But at the same time, and that's why I allow her to say things now. But the thing about it is now that I'm putting God on a pedestal, He's going to teach me how to be a husband, how to be a father, and how to be the head of the household. And the reason why we don't have anything, well, for one thing, is you have to accept the things you have and be happy with that. Then you can respect what comes next in the giving process. But what I learned is that we were selfish. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we weren't happy with what we had. Okay, take that. And then you take somebody else's situation. There's a lot of other people who have less than what we had. And I kept telling my wife this: be thankful for what we have, because there's people. But the thing about it is if you're not fully grasping it, just the words, then that's all they are. So it's a lot has to do with actions and stability. You have to be stable with what you're doing. Just like my son, he's a boxer, and he says, "Dad, show me your stance." And I'm like, "Right here." He pushes me over, and I said, "What'd you do that for? You told me to show you." He said, "Okay, do it again. Show me your stance." Right? He pushed me over again. And I said, "Why do you keep doing that? You told me to show you how I stand when I go to fight." And he's like, "Here's the problem, Dad. I'm going to show you stance, okay?" And he was like measuring my feet and all this stuff. And so he put me in the stance, and he says, "Okay, now don't let me push you over." And he couldn't push me over. No. And he says, "That's what I'm talking about." He says, "You're being pushed over all over the place because you don't have your stance." It's sort of like the thing to be grounded in the word, you know. If you're not grounded, you're like a wheat getting pushed this way and that way, which causes double mindedness and everything else to be erratic, which it does grow into the family and everything. And that's why you're like a you're like an engine of unknown. You ever change the plugs on a car? 1 3 5 2 4 6 or 2 7 9 3 2 1. It's all different. Well, that's how my life is right now. I don't know the order that everything has to go in place, but I know it's going to look backwards, but that's in our eyes, the way God's going to set it up, which I am nervous. I will admit I'm nervous about because I don't know which way I'm going to go, but I'll know more of insurance and which way I'm going if I follow Him. So, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to do the best I can, and one thing that He's telling me is love yourself and make sure you put yourself first, but ultimately God first, because God's going to teach me how to put myself first. and take authority and all that stuff like the way I'm supposed to, and work on me because I say this to my wife too. And there's another thing I gotta, you know, reap what I sow. I said, um, I don't know, but basically, you got to take account for your actions. Um, there's so much things still going in my head. I'm not sure exactly the whole understanding of it all because I'm just now I've read like 8 chapters in Revelations and a few in James and Psalms. I've really got it. My psalm is Psalms 23, 35, and 91. Apparently, they're my ultimate protection because here's the thing. I remember a long time ago when, after I got baptized and stuff, the preacher looked at me and he says he was working on his house. He said, "Brother, sit down." And he said, "You see this teeth?" I said, "Yeah, it's filthy." He said, "This is you. You see all your problems in there?" He says, "Now what's happening? Now you realize all your problems. Now it has to be shooken up." And he shook the jug and he said, "See," he said, they're all over the place now." And I didn't understand exactly what he was saying. I understood a point to it, but now the new point that I understand is what I heard a message the other day. Um, you will be shooken. Now here's the thing, because how should I say, I planted a lot of bad seeds. Now they have to get uprooted. Which one do I take first? I don't know. But one thing that I realized about that scenario is being shooken. When you're shooken in your walk with God, stuff will fall off. If it falls off, leave it fall off because it falls off for a reason. Maybe God's trying to tell you, you don't need to hold on to that anymore. Let that go. Because when you hold on to too many things, you're putting more weight than you can bear. You're overwhelming yourself. You're allowing anxiety to trigger you. Perfect love casts out all fear, and now you got fear set in there. And if fear comes at you and anxiety comes at you, say, okay, because it's best to go with it than to fight against it. Because if you fight against this, what's the old saying goes? It takes two to tangle. But if you can ignore it because it's going to fall away. It's going to get tired. It's like this one movie I've seen, Beautiful Mind. Once he said, you know what? Voices are going to keep talking to me and I'm still going to see them and everything, but I don't have to acknowledge them. So what happened is the people were like 100 feet on the other side of the sidewalk. He can't hear them no more. And he knows they're there because he was asked, do you still see them? Yeah. But he's not acknowledging them. So what happens is, period of time, they will dissipate. And that's what I have to keep in mind. Everything that I say, I have to relive. And even if it's intelligent things, but it's like this one thing. It says, you know, preach what you say, but also do what you preach and make sure you're grounded in that preach because you will be held accountable by everything you say out your mouth. And if you're not, thinking that you're held accountable. Well, you're going to go through some tests. And if your stance isn't firm in that, you're going to be shooken. Now, there's certain things you're going to be shooken at that you have to hold your stance in. But then there's things, mostly old habits, old ways of how you would act to something. That's where you need to have your stance at, and you need to let that certain stuff fall away. See, not to change the subject or anything, but I started YouTube like I don't know 4 or 5 years ago, and I thought I was gonna be rich. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do good videos. I posted a video, and this is before I knew about hashtags or anything. I posted a video, and I think it was the hustle or something like that, or whatever. And I remember I got one view, and that was it. And then like 2 weeks later, I got two. I'm like, what the heck, you know? Right now, I still only have like 16 on that one, but I did other videos, and I would always ask everybody's opinion. That was my problem. That I had to let fall away. I always let other people dictate what I was gonna do or how it is. I used to be all excited to show my videos and stuff to my kids and my wife. Get that out of my face, Dad. I'm tired of it already. And I'm like, but isn't this good? Isn't it? No, it's stupid, Dad. You didn't spend no time in it. You know, so the weirdest thing is now my older videos that I did, they were actually a lot of them were actually good. But see, I wanted people's reassurance, even through jobs. Hey, I did a good job, didn't I? Do you think it's a good job? What the heck is wrong with me? You know? And I came to know that it's like people accept you the way you are, whether you like it or not. Just like when I went to get the operation, I said I had red meat, and red meat don't agree with me. So if I start farting and the freaking doctor sits there and cuts me, and next thing you know, he slants a freaking extra thing because he gets passed out by my gas and I can't do anything. They all were laughing, you know. And I told him, I said, I'm too old to care what people think anymore, or how, a good job I did or not. You told me to do what I'm supposed to do. I did what I'm supposed to do. Okay, if it's not in that order, well, I asked you, and you told me it doesn't matter for this and it doesn't matter for that. So it doesn't matter how it's on, but it goes on. Um, or in, whatever. But the only way, like my son, he's a leader. He is. People look up to him and go to him. He's very intelligent too. What I realized is, do you want to be a leader or a follower? And because the way I lead my life, my youngest son is a follower, and that's my fault. See, when I was a kid, I went through a lot of abandonment, and a lot of it I never got over, and it followed me into adult years. And then, oh, sorry, my freaking clipped off my fixator. I'm trying to put it back on because I can feel the metal in my bone, and it feels weird, and it doesn't want to snap in. Shoot, how hard you got to press?
Mm.
Ooh, I don't understand this thing. Maybe the thing's got this sound. But anyway, sorry about that. Where was I? My son is a follower because of me, and I don't want to be that way anymore. I want to be, you like me, you want to follow me, or you don't. But I am through following people. I always paid the price. And because of that, I share the price with my wife, with my son, because I didn't take leadership in my house. So my wife didn't know how to respect me because of the wrong stuff I did. But I always thought I was wrong. I mean, I was right. To the point where all I had to do was say one thing that whether I was right or wrong about, it would bring up the past. You're right about everything. You think you're always right. You know what? Fine. No, I passed through that. So I know I'm Mr. Wrong. I'm trying to be a happy man, happy wife, happy life kind of thing. But now I got to get over the fact being weak too is, I'm sorry, honey. You know, and what she says now, you're always sorry. You know, you're a sorry, poor excuse of a person. So anything to devour me. And the position I put him in, she has the right. Like the last video she did, I was really hurt by it because I promised her I was going to take care of everything. I promised her a house, and that was 20 years ago. There's freaking kids that are 20 years old and stuff like that owning homes. I know a couple of them, and that makes me feel really crappy because I let fear and anxiety control my life. Don't go to work. This is going to happen. Don't go to work. Your wife's going to leave you. Don't go to work for this. Don't go to work for that. It wasn't lazy. It was anxiety, which pushed me down the lazy. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to scrap. I'm going to make money scrapping. Yeah, right. Scrapping took a lot of time away from my family, my kids. I didn't make that much money. I was basically a fool and didn't know it. And when I thought I was a fool at different times, instead of accepting it and putting one foot in front of the other and going, I'd fight against it and try to do more overbearing. Like, for instance, I worked at a job, it wasn't enough. Then I opened up a handyman business. I was working two jobs at one time till I burned out. Then I went to another job till I burned out. And, doing more than I should have handled. And always trying to look at the best and be the best. And instead of just doing what my dad said, and just do your job, don't do any more, don't do any less. Just do what you're told, and that's it. But my dad was telling me this, but I'm talking to the same man who didn't teach me anything, which sucks because I didn't know how to go camping, making all these promises, not spending time with my kids or understand how to spend time with kids. Because when I met my wife, I was basically like catatonic feelings because my family basically destroyed my feelings of love. My wife had to teach me love. So mix that with a heartless heart that they basically made me feel abandonment and all that, leaving me in the crib alone by myself for days on end while my mom went out and did what she did, and my dad was out cruising with his freaking woman. They had 10 kids. Why'd you have 10 kids? And I said, why'd you even have me? When you said I should have been dead at birth and stuff. So I had to go through all these different things, the abuse, the rape, and everything. And I let it dictate my life. Instead of being strong about it, I let life torment me and control me, and not like trying to get off the easy way, but I went through too much pain and too much torture to torture myself any longer. But I did because I was afraid my wife was going to leave me because I felt like she was going to abandon me. So I let anxiety control me. And when I came out of the hospital last time, I realized if your wife is going to cheat, if your wife is going to leave you, she would have already done it. And if she does it, then she wasn't meant to be your wife. You weren't meant to have her. And it could be a lot of different ways you weren't meant to have her. Either because you couldn't fulfill the man's place, you were like a child, and now you have to reap what you sow without her. I didn't realize how much she loved me and she stuck around and all this stuff. So now I just freely let her go, whatever decision she wants, you know, rub her shoulders, rub her feet, back, neck. She's diabetic, so she has a urine problem, and sometimes she wets the bed or wets where she sits on a couch, and she gets upset with herself about it and all that. And I tell her it's okay. I wash the clothes out by hand. I hang them up because the covers are too heavy for her. And I look at her weight and everything, and I feel like I'm responsible for that. Her being diabetic and her being overweight. Because, see, here's the thing that I wish I would have realized that a man is meant to be stronger than a woman for the simple fact is if the man takes the leadership he's supposed to, the woman, her secure blanket, is her husband. She knows he's going to take care of everything. She can relax and every now and then go shopping for herself and get something for herself. And I still deaf my wife because she had to go get her kids so she couldn't afford stuff for herself. And through the years, I bought her rings, but we didn't celebrate vacations like we should have. I didn't. The rings I gave her, regardless if they were expensive or not, which mostly they weren't, they got pitched. They got tossed out the window. We had two marriage certificates that got ripped up and thrown in the trash. We're married, but we don't have the certificate. And she reminds me every day of what we don't have and what she doesn't have because of me. And clothes, underwear, socks, whatever, jewelry, perfume, and to get her hair done. And the saddest thing is when I was working, she got her nails done, and I'll never forget this. I was so mad. My wife had beautiful toes, beautiful nails, and she went and I, gave her money to go get her nails done. And she went to this same place she always go to, this Chinese guy, and he clipped her one big toenail too far down, and it was bleeding. So all of a sudden, as soon as it was healing, there was a shadow coming through, like a fog through the nail, and I'm like, what the hell's that? Well, so for long we found out it was a fungus. And what happened was is when he was clipping her toenails, he didn't sanitize the clippers. So someone who had fungus spread it onto my wife because it can go through the feet and all that stuff. But if it gets in the bloodline, you immediately got it, and that's what happened. And now it's happening with her other toes, and I just feel like I'm to blame for that too because maybe she would have went somewhere else if we would have had more money, or maybe she would have did it herself because she would have cared more about herself. I don't know all the answers. All I know is I really broken a lot of bridges, and I messed up so many times that now I'm all but 50 years old, and like my wife reminds me, we don't have nothing to show for it. And this broken of the leg is meant for me to realize everything I did and thank God that there is a God because He is with me. I faced death many times, but it wasn't my time to go. And it's not even for myself. I think it's people I'm supposed to talk to. I'm supposed to witness to. Because I had a vision one time and asked God, what does this mean? And He said, these are the people. And I said, well, what are they doing? And why am I seeing this vision? And there's a big lake of fire around a mountain. And they were all lined up around the mountain, like maybe about that far, just a little bit of room on each side of their feet. But they were lined up, man. There had to be hundreds of them. I'm going to say 300 maybe. And I said, why are they jumping in there? They started jumping in into the lake of fire. I'm like, and he's like, son, these were the people that you were supposed to witness to. I said, to save their life. He says, you were supposed to talk to these people. You were supposed to tell them by me. And now that you didn't get a chance to talk to them because of your own selfish ways, they missed out because I have everybody lined up for everything. And apparently, I was supposed to talk to all these people, and because I didn't, because I was so caught up in my own selfish ways, I didn't get to talk to these people. So, what I'm trying to say is, ever since this happened, I am, well, I wasn't really a drinker because of all the stuff I went through, but I started talking. I even talked to the people in the hospital, and I told them that there is a God. And how I know this? Because I shouldn't be here. I mean, I can go through the whole night and explain to you all the different times that God saved me. That's why I'm selfish, because I should have stayed with you. But I wanted to live into the world. Just like Moses, I guess. I'm basically right there with you. So, without further ado, I just said, listen, say, say you don't believe anything I say. Just say, for instance, say you do die, right? And you go to see God. Not saying you will or you won't, but say that there is a God and you're like, oh my goodness, I was wrong. There's a God. Oh my goodness. You grab your head, you looking at me. God never knew you because you can't be this. The only two things you can't do. You can't be at two places at one time with this, and that's sin. Okay, because sin is thrown out to the sea. So when you ask him for forgiveness, but when you're in there, he's going to say, I don't know you. Get away from me, you iniquity, because all he sees is sin. In other words, you marry your wife, right? You might marry the attraction of it, But if you're with her long enough, you begin to love her mind, body, and soul. So it doesn't matter what my wife looks like, I will always see her as beautiful. So I grasped at that part. I got that part. So I wasn't trying to change the subject. I was trying to use reference, but my kids don't like when I do that. But hey, you like me, leave me, whatever. But I have a lot of growing up to do. I have a lot of lessons to be learned. But I just want to share my testimonies and stuff like that because I don't want to see anybody go to hell, quote, if there is a hell, because a lot of people don't believe in it, atheists or whatever. But I'm just telling you my experience. I shouldn't be here. God showed me things, okay? Why I had to go through certain stuff in life. The only thing I can say, like getting beat to death and all that stuff, is I'm here for a reason. And He might have had me go through that stuff or allowed it to make the person I am, because I am a very strong person, but weak minded. So I may be strong in other areas, but allowed my anxiety and my fears and my past to dictate my future. So now, instead of God working with my leadership, of His leadership in my life, now I got to ultimately completely follow His way of living because I failed so many times. And I'm going to continue to fail just due to the fact because I have no leadership. So He's got to take the leadership and show me, what the old saying goes, practice makes perfect. Well, at least close to it. So it's like you're falling down the mountain or you're falling down a hill you're trying to climb up for the next climb after that. And you make it up this one and you go to try the next one and you keep falling down. You know, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So when you fall down the hill, you get back up, you try it again. You fall down again, you give it. The thing about it is, you keep on getting up until you pass it. It's like a retest, like my driver's license. Uh, I understand things, sir. I'm a hands on person. And I'm teaching myself how to understand reading. But what I read that book many times. I even reread it, the manual of driving. But I went and took the written test, and they say it's common sense. Well, maybe I don't have any because I failed it like 20 times. And then the thing about it is my wife, when we first got together, I'm 24 years old right now, and I'm driving her car, and I'm having trouble driving, but I want to eventually get used to it without no license. And I remember one time I got pulled over and hurry up and uh, made it look like I had a license, and it was in the computer like I had a license, but I only had an ID. But it comes up as your license number, even if your ID. At least that's the way it was then, and he let me go with some traffic fines and stuff. So because our inspection was dead, and anyway, so I got used to driving. My wife's like, "Well, I'm about ready to lose my license, so you have to get your license." And hers was because of a fine. So I went and took the written test, and it's so weird. Everything stuck. They couldn't trick me. I didn't even get a chance to finish the test because there's 18 questions. I answered 15 all right because I got the visual part with the written part and was able to put it into a perspective. So what I was learning over the years is I have to have both in order to learn certain things. In order for me to understand what I'm reading, I have to visually see it too. Sometimes I can visually see it, and sometimes I have to see it because I can't get it in my mind because I'm not understanding. Because sometimes I read backwards and stuff. So, yes, I had dyslexia in the past. I can help you out with that because I was having trouble. The guy said make a left, and I made a right onto oncoming traffic. So I told myself, "Here's your hands." Well, what looks like an L, you know, and that's one thing that I understood what an L looked like. Not a backwards L, right L. So this right here is an L. So I would go like this and tap when they would say right or left because I knew this. I'm right-handed, so I would put a pencil on this one. So if they'd say make a right, I know immediately to turn that way. If they say make a left, I just go like this while I'm holding the steering wheel. So it's funny too because I failed the driver's test 3 times. On the third time I got it, and the main reason I got it is I knew how to drive parallel parking. I'm dead perfect, but I started driving on the road like the way I was driving a car. If it's yellow, go through it. And or when I pulled out in front, what I had to go to 100 feet. Oh, you pulled out in front of somebody. Oh, you ran the red light, but it was yellow. uh, I guess you're supposed to slow down and stop. I mean, like the old said, like the book says too. It says, and here's the trickery of it. Here's the biggest trickery of it. Okay, not talk about the light. The light, you're supposed to slow to complete stop. That's the way that is. But the hardest part I got was, and this is hard for anybody. And I'm telling you, you will get pulled over for this. And it's it's messed up, but it is a law. Okay, and that is, what does it say in the book about driving on the highway? Flow with traffic. Well, it says 65, and that guy's going 75. Go 65. But if there's two or more many cars that are going 75, you have to go 75 because you have to flow with traffic. And that's the thing, you know. So if one person breaks the law is busted. But if two or more people break the law, you're supposed to break the law with them, you know. And I thought that was funny because literally you cannot get pulled over for that. But if you go slower and you hold up traffic, even though you're going to speed limit, you get pulled over. And I see cops doing it too. I see them even flashing their lights to go through a red light. So what I'm trying to say is, it life, your life, is dictated upon how you have self control. Like going out on the road, my wife don't think. And when I say that is, someone cuts her off. She's Italian, mind you. She doesn't mean any harm. If someone cuts her off, I grab my head. Next thing you know, she starts cursing them out, giving them the finger and all that stuff. And it happened. One time, she recorded it too and sent it to me. One time, this guy got out of the car and got up in her car. Now, it was a warning sign. Stop doing it. She don't listen. She still does it. But I'm trying to tell her, you don't know what that person's going through, and I don't care what they're going through, but in their head is what I mean. Um, they could have lost somebody. They could be crazy. They could have missed their meds. They could be in a hurry to get to their destination, not thinking, or they might just be in outer space. That's where the world's going, is everything's fast. So not only that, what did it say in the Bible? In the last days, consciences will be severed. I used to be in the book all the time. I can't remember all the chapters of everything, but consciences will be severed, and kids will be in the rulers of the last days. And I see that coming in. And the conscience being severed, I see that coming in. Because how many people kill people that don't know what the heck they just did? There's a lot. And there's also a lot of people that want to kill people. Or should I say unalive? Because I don't think straight that. But I don't know. Everything is different nowadays. I'm still trying to adjust. But yeah, so she can say that to somebody, and that can be the last straw, and them come out and just shoot the car up in them. Or rage, what do they call it? Rage gators or whatever, where they chase them down and just. I watch it. You got to see it. It's called Unhinged. Um, and the same guy that plays in A Beautiful Mind, I can't remember his name, but he loses his family nuts, and this one woman is stuck at a red light or stuck somewhere doing something. I forget exactly, but the whole thing is he's out to get her now, and he doesn't stop. He even goes to her house at night or whatever. But that's the thing. That's another thing I worried about. You could be a target for somebody to take whatever they're going through out on. So drive as safe as you can. Pay attention to the car in front of you, but pay attention more or less. Pay attention to the car in front of that, and that's another reason why you want to do the 4 second rule, and you want to stay at least a good distance away from the car, because people randomly slam on their brakes, and if someone randomly ran, sent, hits the brakes in front of that car or in front of that car, however far you can see, they hit the brakes hard, it could be a pileup, especially if you're tailgating. That's why you have to keep a safe distance. It's courtesy and respect too. But yeah, you can actually cause an accident by that, or being in a rush and thinking you can make the one turn by making a left or right and thinking you're safe distance when I don't know anybody that can see their bumper unless they're driving a big truck and they have slanted hood or whatever. But your bumper is a good some are a good foot out, some are only 6 inches. But the whole point is I'm saying is, what does it say in the side mirror? Closer than they appear. I've already got blind spotted so many times because I thought I could turn over because I didn't see any cars, and here this car was right next to me, but I didn't see it. And that's why you have to pay attention to your surroundings, and that's why I use the old school too, where I actually look out my window or look out there because of the blind sight of turning over. But yeah, if you want to get rid of an accident, if someone's in a hurry behind you, put your turn signal on, and the safest place, turn off. It's not worth it. I'm telling you, it's not worth it. And I did one time. I used to get enraged. That's why I didn't like driving for long. But I did the one thing. This guy was tailgating me, and I was pretty strong then. He, I pulled over. He pulled over. I moved ahead. He moved ahead. He was like the whole way. We hit a stop sign. I was so worked up, I didn't even know what I was doing. Got out of my truck, and he was in the truck, and I punched his freaking truck. I caused $1,500 damage, and it was 12 or 1,500. I can't remember. And he said in front of the cop, "You're lucky my kids weren't in the car and stuff." And I was like, "Man, you look like you seen a ghost when I did that because of the damage." But anyway, I paid for that and almost got jail time out of it. But luckily, everything went smooth. And then another time, I was driving down the road. This other guy was tailgating me, and I said, "You know what? Let's see how good my brakes are." And I slammed on the brakes. He ran into me. Then I was still like in a rage of hyperness. I hurry up and spilled my car around and got behind his and started tailgating him. And hurry up and went in McDonald's. And I drove away. And it was stupid of me. But that's what I'm saying. People ain't thinking. I wasn't thinking. And it's just today in the society, everything moving fast. Conscience has got a call. You know, people do stuff rude. You walk in the store and customer service, it isn't about you. Well, this was this price or this was that price. I'm sorry. Someone moved it. What, they moved a whole road too? It said for this price. And remember, customers aren't right anymore. So you either pay for what the price brings up or you put it back. And basically, that's the way it is now. There's no respect. There's no kind of courtesy. You get more respect out of a customer than you will the employee. And that's what's ed. Because 9 times out of 10, people don't like their jobs. And more on top of it, with everybody thing being expensive, you can't afford much. So they really don't like their job because it's not even paying their rent. So, with that being said, then you scoop up the ladder a little bit. Now the middle class ain't middle class no more. So a doctor getting paid maybe doctor wages can't live like the doctor he wants to be because of everything being expensive. And whether he wants to be a doctor or not, most of them they're out for the money, but they do care. Some of them care more than others, but some of them really are a doctor just for the money. So you're just basically an item to them that they have to work on. With that being said, you don't have the heart into it, stuff messes up, procedures, operations, whatever. And especially with a lot of malpractices now, like people can't sue people for different things. And in Pennsylvania, there's considered a no fault accident, and oh, it's so many loopholes. People's wages are so messed up that no one really cares even about their own job, even a doctor's job, because the doctor can't live the way he wants to live because of the prices. So he may want to live in this, $500,000 home, but because of everything expensive, he can only live in a $250,000 home. So he doesn't have the free space that he feels like he should have. Which you went to school, you be a doctor and stuff, you spend all that time, I understand, but at the same time, don't take it out on the people. And that's the thing, it sucks. People are missing that because you could have a good day by being nice to other people, you know, because it comes back, you know. Say hi, they say hi back. They don't say hi, you still say hi to the next person. It comes back because not everybody is in a happy go lucky mood because you never know what anybody's going through. So you just offer your generosity. Um, and with that being said, really just do the best you can. Don't take anything personal, and that's another thing. People are taking everything personal because here's the thing you have to think. This one verse, I forget how it got into play, but this one guy said, "How many times did you say something that you didn't mean to say, or how many times did you say something that you don't know what you said, or how many times did you say something that you didn't mean to say? He said, there's the answer right there. They're not your words. They were implanted in your mind for attack, to attack the other person or wherever you're at. It's an attack mode from the enemy, distilling thoughts in your head. All it takes is one thought to grab another one. And if you're starting to think about feeling mistreated or whatever, oh, he just helps you out. Like you'd be like, that person just butted in front of me. All of a sudden, here comes the enemy. You know what you should do? You should say something. You know what you should do? Take something out of their cart and throw it. Or just tell them about what kind of person they are. Or, you know what? Just get them out of the line. Or, you know what? Just go get a manager. You know what? Just drop your stuff and just leave the store. All this stuff, and all of a sudden you're like, what the heck was that all about? But you don't say that. But most of the time, that's what it feels like. Because it was worthless. You didn't get nowhere. But guess what? You got two things. Now you got anxiety because you got worked up. And now you got fear because fear always sets into play if you go to do something and not knowing the consequences at the time, but understanding the consequences later. What if I would have hit that lady? I would have went to jail. Or someone took the parking spot. If I would have got upset, and I've seen people do this. I got in a fight with the guy who did that one time. My wife was pregnant, and he pulled in, and we pulled in, and he came and started attacking me. But he wasn't attacking me at first. He started attacking my wife and calling her fat and all this stuff. And she was pregnant. I was in the back seat. As soon as he called my wife names, I lost vision. I didn't understand anything except for this guy has to pay. And I got out of the car and I viciously attacked him. Looked like a wolf terror on my part. His shirt was all ripped up. His glasses, I must have punched him several times. I didn't even know what I did. But I do remember looking in his eyes and it looks like he's seen a ghost. He was all pale. His eyes were like guppy eye. I mean, his eyes were just huge. And I was like, yeah, I went through a lot of stuff. I have PTSD. So, I beat up myself too many times because pain used to relax me. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to share this because I just see people. I see people's ways, and I can tell. I can tell. Like I'm a people reader for the most part, and I see somebody looking so miserable, and I say, "Hey, what's up?" Or "Hi," whatever. They immediately trans out of the thought process they're in, and they go, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And they could be looking and acting like the nicest person after that. The point is there's a lot of bondage in people where they're just so wrapped up into what's going on in their life they can't think straight. And the problem with that is especially when you're out going on the road. I've seen a lady my wife beat the horn at because she was just going through freaking traffic. She wasn't drunk or anything. She was just in a catatonic state where she didn't know what she was doing at that time. Probably had a lot on her mind and stuff and shouldn't be behind the wheel right now. But we all get like that. It's almost like, who's going to do it? I have to do it. Like my wife, I told her, don't overwhelm yourself. You know. So that's another thing. Practice what you preach. That's what I used to say. I'm telling her not to overwhelm herself, but at the same time, guess what? I'm going to be tested with it. So next thing you know, I'm overwhelmed because because I can't. Because the saddest thing about being overwhelmed is, how do I act on overwhelmed? How do I take a step back? Because most of the time when you're overwhelmed, you can't think straight. Your mind, thoughts, patterns, to do lists, what can I do now? Everything just gets wrapped up and gets all twisted. And then on top of being twisted, someone asks you a question and you wonder why they lash out at you or ignore you. Because I used to do the ignoring thing. And the problem is, like God said, don't put more than you can handle. Because one thing is, the enemy will definitely try to put more than you can handle. He's done it to me many times and probably will still do it. But the thing about it is like God says, just let it happen. Just let him say, you know, right now, especially in my position, if the kid's cursing me, I'll say it once, stop. But they're not going to listen to me right now. So I got to pick and choose my battles, basically. And the only way to do that is to try to talk to them. If they don't want to listen, as I'm talking to them, I got to talk to God and say, hey, what's the next step? What do I do? You know? And the biggest thing is correction. God corrects us. And like it says in the Bible, spare the child, I mean, spare the rod, spoil the child, the kid won't respect you. And how could I discipline my kid if I didn't discipline myself? See, I didn't realize that. I thought maybe I wasn't taught right growing up, so I can use that as an excuse because that's what happened. And then when I did correct him, I corrected him the way I was corrected, which is wrong, and I have to live with that. I constantly tell my kids I'm sorry for what I did in the past and everything, but I literally tried the best I could do. But the problem is, it wasn't the best that you could have done. It's the best for the route you took. Okay? And so you reap what you sow, definitely on that note. But now, for the little ones, they need a crack on the butt. You got to crack them on the butt, but you don't crack them nowhere else. If they curse or anything, you put soap in your mouth. It's to teach them not to do it no more. My daughter, she uses hot sauce or whatever. Oh, he drives me crazy. But she has to learn that when you do that, you have to hold him for a little bit until he calms down, or else he's going to lash out and break everything, what she does. So it's it's progress, but you know, I wish I would have put God first a long time ago. Because the funniest thing is I feel bad for even there, because the preacher called me after I got baptized. I was in the church probably about 2 or 3 months, and I was really coming along. So he wanted me to help baptize a few people, and because the leadership in my house was my wife, which I allowed, I asked my wife, I'm like, hey, I got to go help the preacher out. Are you all right here? She said, if you go here, if you go, everything's going to get messed up. I'm going to tear everything apart. I'm cutting your clothes up, everything. And it wasn't her. That's the thing. It wasn't her talking. It was the enemy. And how I knew it is because of the actions about it. When he takes over, your mind and your body are or took it because you allow it to happen. And the saddest thing is, if I would have went there, I'm sure God would have protected things. But like I said, now shook and fall, there would have been a lot of stuff fall off. I might have had to go to the Salvation Army and get new clothes or whatever, but I should have. I should have just went because it was a test and a trial, and I failed it. I backslid, and through the years, I was fighting tooth and nail to go to church and then disappear, go to church, disappear, go to church. So I was playing hopscotch. I was basically double-minded. I was unstable in all my ways. To where now I'm holding on to Jesus' garment, and I'm just taking everything as it is, and I got to take leadership and responsibility for what I have to do. And though I know I'm not perfect, but I will do the best I can do for what I have. But I have to make sure that I try and I attempt and I follow God's plan as He teaches me, and to help others say it's not the end of the world. So don't try to hurt yourself. Don't try to kill yourself or anything like that. Because there's a reason for you being here. I don't know what it is, if it's small or if it's big, and that goes for me too. I don't know. But I do know one thing. You can look toward the finish line, but if you've seen the finish line, you probably run the other way. You mean I got to go through all that? Forget it. See, you going through it by yourself, even the smallest part, you're going to fall. You know, when I told the Lord first, I got this, I shouldn't have said that because you fall flat on your face. I even had the Holy Spirit live in me for a few days. And I remember the last day, I said, I got this, God. I got this. I can handle whatever you throw at me. That was the stupidest mistake. Because you know what happened? The Holy Spirit went back to where it was. It stayed with me, but I was in control now. And the saddest part is I failed. I remember because before then everybody was trying to get me to drink, trying to get me to do this and do that, and I got attacked in so many different ways, but it didn't faze me one bit. You know. But then once the Holy Spirit left and it was me again, I remember calling up the brother because I started cursing. My tongue got wild, and I'm like, "What just happened?" I felt different. You know, I felt like everything was attacking me, and I'm like, "What's going on? What's going on?" You know. And he said, "Brother," he said, "now you got to do this on your own. The Spirit is still with you, but now you're the leader, so you have to take account of everything that happens now, and you got to keep God with you." And I didn't know how to do it, and I knew what I should have done, just keep reading the Bible, which I started to, but the attacks got so bad that I couldn't handle it. I could have probably handled it, but I was telling myself I couldn't handle it, and that's why I couldn't handle it. It's almost like this: if you tell yourself you ain't gonna do it, you're already answering it. You know, if, if you tell yourself no, it's no. If you tell your yes, then you're gonna do it. But if you tell maybe, think about what the scale of maybe is. Maybe can be anywhere between a 40 and 50% chance. Never a 60 because 60 is probable, like, you know. Most likely, if everything goes right, you got to give yourself basically 100%. Because anything under 100%, there's room for error. So if you say you're going to do something, do it. Even if you're late, like I told the doctor because I was late for my appointment. So they had to move stuff around so I could get in there. And I was even late for my first talk with the doctor before the surgery. And he had to move stuff around there. So he's been very patient with me. And I apologize. I said, I'm going to tell you, like, yes, man. I said, if I show up early, something dangerous is going to happen because I'm always, I'm late for everything. But here's the thing, if you're late, but you try to be there on time, at least you got there. Because I looked at the clock and it was 8:39. Then I looked at it again, 9:39. I'm like, what happened? How did an hour just go in a minute or a second? And I was hurry up getting dressed. I woke my wife up. She's like, why would you wake me up when we got to leave in 15 minutes? Why didn't you wake me up earlier? I was like, I don't know. So anyway, that was comical. But it's like this. It's better to be late than never, even at a job. You know how many people showed up late even for the orientation at my job? And one person was 15 minutes, one person was half an hour, and one person was an hour. They had to wait till next session. So at least they showed up. And then the other thing, the person who showed up 15 minutes late forgot their ID. So they had to run back in the house. Now, by the time they came back, it was like an hour. So they had to wait outside. So it's like, I was like 5 minutes late. They weren't even taking anybody back yet. We didn't go back until 15 minutes after the time we were supposed to be there. So being late worked out perfectly. I would have just had to wait longer. Um, and there is another good thing about the job. It's you get a 10-minute grace period. And if you don't know what that means, I'll tell you. Uh, you can show up, I mean, not to 10 minutes. I'm going to say 9 minutes because 10 minutes you're late or 10 minutes you can't clock in yet. So 9 minutes. You can show up 9 minutes early or 9 minutes after the hour. And you don't even clock in. You clock in with your phone, but it won't let you clock in until you're in the store. And it won't even let me clock in until, until I'm certain place in the store. So I have to go back right by the office where it accepts me to clock in because it'll say you're still not in the store yet. It's weird. But that sums that up. But the main thing I wanted to share is I'm not a bad guy. And a lot of the wars that I went through, I couldn't control. But then again, a lot of the wars that I went through was in my control because I had no control because I didn't have the proper leadership. If I would have put God first and let Him lead my life, I wouldn't probably even be here. We'd probably be in a nice place somewhere. Kids will respect me and everything. My wife would be submissive. I would love her like the church. But, and like God said, I didn't want this for you. I didn't want you to run this path. But because you took leadership, it's almost like I remember this one guy I talked to that told me something. He said, I remember when I first went to church because he went to church a couple times too. And he said, it took me a couple years to go to church. And I said, what do you mean? He said, because I wanted to make sure I was financially set, I could give to the church. I was in a proper stance with my relationship and everything. And And I said, so how'd that work out? He goes, it didn't. He said, I lost everything. I said, what do you mean? He said, my job, my house, my wife, and everything. I said, what, she left? She said, yeah, everything was going downhill. So he dropped out of church. So it got even worse for him. Then he came back to church when he didn't have nothing. And I think he was even homeless. So, regardless of the story, what I'm trying to say is come as you are. Because if you try to fix yourself up and God's working with you, He might have to get rid of stuff. So, if he has to get rid of stuff, why try to fix it? Why try to build your bank account up when it's going to get wiped clean anyway? Because you got to think too, you can't take anything with you if you go. So, materialistic things, people try to set people up with their kids, get insurance for their kids, life savings, all that. But it doesn't matter because one thing is while you're here, what have you done? So when you do go, go as you are. If your life's messed up, that's good because now God can fix it if you allow Him to. Because He's going to reward you with blessings that you never thought you could obtain yet or receive. God's plans are very different from ours. His timing and what you have go through, and what can feel like a punishment that God don't like you and He's pissed off at you, He's upset. He might have a reward for you in the end. It's like, for instance, if you ever cut grass or anything, you did a favor for somebody, and you said they're going to give you a couple dollars or whatever, right? Don't expect more, but sometimes it happens. Like you're going to give me $10 and gave me freaking 20 or $30, and I was like, oh my goodness. You know, if someone asks you to do something, do it like it's sorry, do it like it's your own property. You're doing it for yourself. Saddest thing is what I noticed a lot of nowadays is there's people that really don't respect what they already have. So two things happen: either they don't treat it well, or they treat it well, and I'm like, why'd you do such a good job like that, but yet you live like a filthy scumbag? Oh man, I just ain't got time. And everybody says the same thing. I ain't got time. Or it's too much. And I spend a couple minutes, but I try not to get involved in that. I get involved in other stuff or whatever. But the problem is that it comes down to yourself. How much respect do you actually have for yourself? You know, because the problem is people can have too much respect for themselves, and the problem is two things: boastfulness and egotism. You know, and that's where the selfishness comes in place where you can't think of anybody else because you're too much of importance out there. They need me, they want me, and I got that way before. Oh yeah, even when I was running 5K. Well, what'd you do today? Well, I ran 5K, but it was nothing because yesterday I ran 5.5K. What the heck's that mean? I don't know. I ran like almost 5 miles. Oh, that's good. When you boast yourself and you hear reactions of somebody else going, yeah, that'd be nice. I'd like to do that, but I just never get in the run. This person you could be talking to is a runner, but just can't get their feet back on the ground to go do it again. because they could be suffering from something physical or mental. Regardless, you boasting yourself, you might think that makes you feel good, where you could have put them more in the dumps. That's why you offer. You want to say something good about yourself, put them on a pedestal too. Say and humble yourself. Say, I ran a little bit, but if you want to walk or run with me, I can help you out. I usually go around this time, or you know, if you need the help, assistance, I'll be there. And whether it happens or it doesn't, you humble yourself. Don't put yourself higher than another person, because another thing is they might be able to wipe you clean, and they might say 5K, that's it. I run 20K, and they might run 20K. So there's always someone better than you. There's always someone less than you. But when you put yourself on a boast, you're automatically lesser than less, because you're putting yourself on a pedestal like you're better than someone. And you're not better than nobody. See, in God's eyes, we're all equal. See, we're the children of God. So we have to go under His leadership like a parent, just like when you become a man. First, you're a son by your dad. You become a man. You have your own family. You have your kids. Now your kids have to respect you like the way you respected your parent, like the way you respect God. So when you fall under God's leadership, sorry, yawning, but when you fall under God's leadership, you're a leader. You're just not above Him. You're on a pedestal, but not up equal with Him. So you're right here. So as you're here, your wife's right underneath you, and your kids are underneath her, because the kids have to respect the wife, and the wife respects the husband, and the husband treats the wife like he would the church. And what that means is he loves, he honors her, he hears her, he listens to her, he does things for her, he's there financially, he's there physically and mentally for stability. And he loves her the same way he loves God, because he respects God, because he put God in leadership. So he knows his wife isn't a leader, but guess what she is? She's her husband is her security blanket. See, so what she does is she casts all her worries and fears on her husband to the Lord, who counts on her husband because he's the leadership of the home. So if he falls away, guess what? She falls away from God, or she stays with God and gets rid of the husband, or husband stays, she winds up being a leader, then the kids wind up being the leaders because they're equal with the wife. So the whole house is messed up, and that's my case. Unfortunately, because I was weak-minded, I let things control me. I basically dictated my life by how I felt when I woke up. I wouldn't wake up as the sun is bright, the sun is shining, that's happy. I would wake up, and instead of enjoying that I can see, enjoying that I could walk, enjoying that I could talk to my kids and say, "How you doing? I love you guys," or "Love my wife," I woke up and said, "Ugh, another day of this. Boy, I hate waking up. I have to do this all over again. I looked at all the negative. Why? Because I was surrounded by negative in my thoughts, so didn't need much help from the enemy. It was already right there. So God was trying to come into play and trying to show me what to respect and what I'm thankful for and all that. I was so selfish. I wasn't thankful for anything. In my eyes, I was thankful not to be alive. That's that's what worldly does to you. It breaks you down. Just like there's a big thing about gambling back in the day. People lost homes, families, and everything because they were gambling because they were trying to make money. But then it became a habit that they couldn't control. You know, now you see on TV there's a medication for this, and now almost every other commercial about how to gamble online with your phone and all these games and apps and everything. It's like even I go to the store and there's freaking gambling things in there. Besides, they got the tickets now. They got basically gambling booths. You just go in there and play and just sink your money in there. You know, hoping to win and hoping to make more money than what you came in. That's the main reason I played. And basically, in that sense, you set you up for a downfall. Like I was telling my son, he plays the lottery. I'm always telling my younger son, just loves lottery. But I told him, I said, he knows better now. But you win some, you lose some. But most of the time, you lose a lot more than you put in. So what I'm saying is, he's like, well, these guys win all kind of money and they play us money, and sometimes they don't lose. I mean, sometimes they lose, and sometimes they. I said, Damien, that's not their money. They wouldn't use their money. It's against them. Okay, they make money on the videos or whatever. You use spare money to gamble with. That way, if you lose it, it doesn't hurt you. You don't spend the money that you have to pay the rent or the bills with, because if you lose, you really lose because now you can't pay this or get groceries or whatever. So they shouldn't exploit this on TV because it's going to force people to go downhill. Some of them homeless people might be because of the lottery. Some of them might have lost a family, lost everything. Some of them just got so depressed where they didn't care about anything, lost their house, home, and they might even have money. But because they're not paying the mortgage and stuff, they had to pay late fees and all that and sunk their whole bank account. Or whatever the case is, they just couldn't get it right, mentally or physically. So I'm talking about the disabled ones too. So a lot of us should be thankful for what we have, because everything we have we can lose. And there's a lot of people that had stuff lesser than us that lost it all. There's a lot of people that had more than we have and lost it all. And there's also people that had the same as we had and lost it all. So have gratitude. Be thankful for what you have. Because if you're not thankful for what you have, you won't be thankful for what you get. You go to the store, you buy this, you buy that. You don't play with this, you don't use this, but you bought it, you have it. You just bought it just so you can have it. So it can sit in the corner, collect dust, or use it once in a while, like weight equipment or whatever. So the biggest thing is if we don't enjoy what we have, how are we going to be happy? So it's basically saying use the best of what you got, do the best of what you got, and understand how much you got and use it wisely. You only got 50 bucks to go to the store, you're eating cheap stuff. Beans, uh, sketty, um, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, a bologna, because it's only like a couple dollars, and some cheap artificial cheese. Um, what else? You can get them deals for the pizzas, 3 for 10 or whatever. Or was it not 3 for 15 or whatever? So you can get that. You can also get I know how to make refried beans, so I can make beans and I can make my own tortillas out of flour, water, salt, um, baking soda, and I make the refried beans with some bacon, some seasoning, some use red pepper with it. I like to use that, and that's probably one of the cheapest. You know, you just boil them, have yourself a bowl of beans, and then when everybody gets their bowl of beans, then use the rest of the beans and smash them up to make the refried beans. And just red pepper, dried chili pepper is better. And if you want to add some bacon in there, some bacon in there. Make your tortillas, burritos, and it's how much? You know? It's like $20 right there altogether. I know it'll feed a lot of people. So there is cheap ways. So don't go out of your means. Like my wife says, "Oh, we got 20 bucks. Let's see if we can go to this restaurant." And I look at her, sure. And I tell you why I say sure, because she don't get out that much. Or squash her, how should I say, her feelings of despair because we don't have much. We're trying to pay the bills all the time now, especially with me having this injury. Oh, I was still known as the breadwinner, but just didn't have no respect because I didn't take the leadership. But that has to change. It's going to change, and I'll tell you why. Well, I burn all the bridges. Well, you can still burn more. If I burn any more, I'm going to be homeless, kidless, wifeless because they all had enough of me. And to be honest, I had enough of me too. I'm getting tired of going on chances and maybes. I want to be assured of what I'm doing and what I'm saying. So the main reason why I said all this stuff is because this is the stuff that has to get rooted out of my life. My falls, my failures, um, my lies, my cheats, my emotions, my anger, my self-discipline. Yeah, I was gonna say my cigarettes too. 'Cause I smoked for like 35 years. Now I chew these ends, and I got to get rid of that habit. But here's the thing: we follow by how God strips us of this stuff, just to be ready that it can be any one of them things. And until you pass it, to get on the next one. And I will share this with you. A few years ago, we were staying in a motel. God showed me. Oh my goodness! Because when you ask, you will receive. And I asked this in well, a couple of years down the line. I was in a motel, and he showed me the mountain that I had to climb. I shouldn't have asked for it because I ran in the house. I was sitting outside on this bench talking with him, and he showed me. I took off in the house because I got scared, and I'll tell you what he showed me. I couldn't even see the top, so I called it as I seen it. Mount Everest. That is my giant. I have to climb that. So I said I can't do it. I couldn't even see the finish line of it. So I went back into the world. Now I'm at a standpoint where I done lost everything. Literally, I can't even see straight. I gotta wear glasses, but I couldn't even cut right on the one angle at the one board I was supposed to cut for this one guy that my son was supposed to do. But he was in the army, so he's in the reserves. I was supposed to take care of this guy's property and help him out with moving a couple things. This one desk wouldn't fit in this hole, so it needed like a half inch cut off. I cut a half inch to an inch off. He wasn't happy, but I couldn't see straight. My vision, my near vision was off, which didn't matter then, but my far vision got worse. So what I'm saying is I couldn't see up close, and I ran off my line because I couldn't see it. Uh, so yeah, I'm basically, and I didn't even tell you about this. I forgot all about it, and I'll tell you. There was a time, let me see, about 8 years ago, I was doing construction, but I was doing it following God. I was going to church and everything. And this was going on 8 years ago. This was like 15 years ago. And a lot of the stuff God was doing, when I say God was doing, I could cut a straight line, but I could never cut a perfect line. I was cutting perfect lines, getting exactly what people asked me to do, fixing siding, hanging up AZAC, hanging up soffit, doing gutter work, all of it. We were on a roof the one time. It was windy, and I was like at a 10, 12 peak angle. This guy was laying shingles, and when he lifted up the slab of shingles, the cardboard paper flew, and I was walking down to get something. I stepped on a piece of paper by accident. I slid down, and it's a good thing we put a ladder up because that's what I ran into. The ladder that we put across the top, about 2 feet in or a foot in. If that wasn't there, I would have fell like 30 feet. So God was still there. And I think the reason why I did that is because the warnings that got set ahead. That was a warning to what you're going to fall. See, I thought I was going to fall off the roof. No, he had me covered to that. But that was a test to let me know I was going to fall. And when I say that repeatedly like that, it's because we were right into the next job. And all of a sudden, my anxiety started kicking in. And it's like God was trying to talk to me, but I was listening more to the anxiety, the stress, what I had to do. And all of a sudden, I quit smoking. All of a sudden, I wanted a cigarette so bad I could barely stand it. And this guy smoked. We even had talks. I liked him, he liked me. He was accepting, the God thing and everything. But the minute I said this, and I said it, but I said it kind of silently, and it kept getting louder when I said it. And then he finally heard, "Can I get a cigarette?" He looked at me and goes, "Really? Man, I didn't know you smoked. Of course, man. Go ahead, I want it." That's when the falling started. The warning was almost falling off the roof. I should have took that as understanding, but I let the enemy come in and steal my glory. And what happened next? We were driving up, I think, to Irish Town or something, and we had to fix a gutter. Guess what happened? He said, "Can you hand me the nails?" Whatever. Dropped the nails. Then he asked me for something else. Fell off the roof. We were on the roof fixing the gutter. Then he's like, "Can you cut this?" He was getting frustrated. And I said, "Yeah." I cut it. I cut it wrong. He's like, "Dude, man, I even put the... Oh my God. You know what? Just go downstairs. I'll finish it up. Just go sit in the truck." Got in the truck after he fixed it and said, "I don't know what's going on with you, man, but you all right? I mean, you acted like you didn't even know what the hell you were doing." And I said, "Yeah, man, I'm sorry. Just had to guess everyone." He goes, "All right." He goes, "Well, I'll drive you home and we'll see how you do tomorrow." Yeah, see, the next day I went, started. He said, "Can you cut this?" I tripped over the wood where I was walking, and he said, "Dude, are you all right? I mean, yesterday, but now today." I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, can you cut me this?" "Dude," I said, "a 32 and a quarter. You gave me a 30. Now I need a whole new piece." "Well, you can cut." "Oh, dude, listen, can you do this or not?" So, yeah, I said, "Yeah." And cut it. He said, 32? He said, "I said 32 and a quarter." "Well, never mind. I can make this fit. Hand me a little piece of the shim over there. I can shim this in." "Dude, man, are you all right? Do you even want to do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what's going on." So then he said, "Can you do this? Put these couple screws in there." So I put the couple screws in. He came over, he looked at it, he goes, "Why'd you put them there? That's going to show. You were supposed to put them back here because that's going to get covered. Can't you see how the other ones are set up?" I was like, "Oh, shoot, man, I'm sorry." And he goes, "Look, let's just call it a day and we'll see what we can figure out." And my buddy, he's getting out of jail, so he might be able to take your spot right now. I said, "No, no, no." I said, "It's all right." I said, "I just messed up a little bit." He goes, uh, "A little bit more, but well, I'll tell you what. I'll give you a call." He didn't call. I called him. He said, "Yeah, it's not gonna work. It's all right." He goes, "I got my buddy. He's out of jail and we're all good now." He said, "So I'm not gonna need you no more." And I'm like, "All right." Everything started happening. And my wife, What are you gonna do for a job? What are you doing? Why are you smoking again? The preacher that came to see me 2 days prior, when I talked to him after all this stuff happened, he said, I knew something wasn't right, that you were acting really boastfully, you had your shirt off, you know, just acting like a tough guy and stuff. And I didn't even realize it. And then the next day is when all that stuff started. As soon as I picked up that cigarette, next day, first the roof. Seriously, right afterwards, the roof, where I stepped on a piece of rubber paper and slipped, almost fell off. Should have counted my blessings. But instead, I let anxiety pull in, a fear. Once fear set in, anxiety set in, next thing you know, I asked for a cigarette, and God takes his hands out of my hands of work, and I messed up and screwed up the job. And that's the main thing. That's why all my jobs got screwed up. And when I wasn't working, I had anxiety and depression because I felt like a failure. So I tried to make it up by doing all the house cleaning, by massages to my wife, by taking care of the kids, watching the kids, doing this, doing that, doing this when I should be out working. So I was serious about this last job I got. But now the Lord wants to make sure that I'm ready to stand on my own 2 feet, to whether I walk, run, jog, lift weights, do workouts, stay at this job, get a second job. I don't know. But right now, He wants me to take care of myself. Because if I take care of myself, it's because I love Him and allow the Holy Spirit that's in me rule and control my life and my ways. It's weird because that stuff I just said, it's like a storm. The minute that they sunk, they looked at the storm. The minute that the guy was walking on water, he looked at the storm. And when you look at the storm, instead of keeping your eyes on God, you look at the problem becomes you now. Now you lost some of your faith, maybe all of it. And the problem with that is now you have to reap and sow what you just did. You ever hear us say you can bounce back? That depends on you. You might have fell. Just because you fell doesn't mean you can't get up. But when you fall, don't stay there. Don't keep falling. Fall, you get up. You fall, you get up. Because, like I said before, practice makes perfect. Or should I say almost perfect? Because there's anyone perfect, and that's God. You stay on solid ground if you follow His path. Like I was even amazed when I was doing that construction work because I was doing stuff that I couldn't normally do by myself. If I would have stayed with Him, I wouldn't have went through all the stuff I went through. So this happened because of my own selfishness. I try my best, but here's the thing: something always felt weird about saying that when I said I try my best. In the position I put myself and I put my family through, was the best, but it wasn't the right choice. So that was the best I could do for what I was giving them and what I was giving myself. But what God had for me was nowhere near it. He had plans. Now it's going to happen a different way. Like I talked to the one brother, he's like, "When did you get baptized? 20 years ago?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Remember, once you're saved, you're saved. You can't get saved again." I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, you got saved, you got baptized, you're God's." He says, "So, regardless of what you do to yourself or you try to do, He's going to put you through stuff to get a hold of you." He did. I tried to end my life several different times. I tried, and I didn't mean to overdose. I overdosed on heroin, and I didn't mean to. I was doing it for the pain because that's all the guy had. And I did apparently a G. I felt the death pains of that. I never went back to it. I didn't like it. Could never dose on cocaine for some reason because I loved it so much at that time. Overdosed on Molly. I went to sleep on after doing a couple grams. I woke up and I remember calling my wife's brother, and he goes to church and he believes in God, with God all the way. And I talked to him and I said about what just happened. I have no idea why I called him. I didn't mean to call him. I didn't call him out of the blue. I mean, that's the only time I would call him out of the blue. I didn't call him on a regular basis or talk to him. There's no need. He's not my brother. And I talked to him and I told him what happened. And he said, "Ted, slow down. What did you say?" And I said, "I overdosed on Molly." He said, "How did you do that? And how are you talking to me?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I was sleeping on the love seat. I don't know. My wife was upstairs. I don't know." And at that time, and I said, "I got up because I couldn't breathe. I ran into the, well, tried to run. It's hard to run when you can't breathe, but I was staggering to the bathroom, putting water in my mouth, trying to swallow, like this. Eventually, I was able to breathe, and I looked in the mirror up my nose, and it was packed with Molly. There's probably a G stuck in my nose, and something told me to call her brother. So I did. And when I told him the story about what happened, he thought I was lying. And I said, "Why would you say that?" I said, "I just called and told you." He's like, "It's it's just weird, wild. It's not like I don't believe you or it didn't happen. It's just really ironic that you just told me the story." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I just did an emergency phone call and we had to report to this one house in this apartment, and we had to call the cops because we opened up the bathroom door. We went through the house because we had the authority. The landlord key opened it, and I forget how he said he found out about it, but there was a guy in the bathroom in the tub dead, overdosed on Molly, and he says, and I did research on it. He said, if you go to sleep on Molly, you don't wake up. How you woke up and you couldn't breathe, I understand that, that's how you died in your sleep. But how you woke up from that, you don't wake up from that. If you go to sleep on Molly, you're done. So that was the first notion that God helped me out. I'm telling you, I should have said my prayers there and left it alone. Then I even tried, and I tried this. I tried to unalive myself with the knife. I got it there, but I couldn't slice it. I got it right in my neck, and I couldn't slice it. Went in the hospital then. Got better, got well. Then went back into school and got trapped again. And remember putting a gun in my head, but I couldn't take it off safety. I couldn't pull the trigger. It was crazy, but I just couldn't do it. There's a bunch of other stuff. Like the one time we were driving down the road, me and my wife, and you ever see on the back of them cars where it says "How's my driving?" Well, we were coming down the road, and there's a four-way up ahead, and a gas station on the right, and this guy was turning, onto our road. Well, he turned right into us, and before I got a chance to think, I had a vision right then and there, in a split second, of us heading into the gas pumps and it blowing up. And the weirdest thing happened. All of a sudden, with a blink of an eye, he was in front of us and we were behind him. Now, mind you, he was going to hit us. All of a sudden, it's like someone picked up his car and put it in front of us enough feet ahead. My wife went to blow the horn and I grabbed her arm and I said, Don't, don't, honey. You don't know what just happened. It was too much for my wife's eyes to take. But the Lord literally took that car and put it in front and pulled us back. It was, and that wasn't the first time either. The second time we were coming up this road where they were doing construction. Well, they just started. But you know how they're supposed to do? They're supposed to put the cones up before they start. Well, they started and then was putting cones around. We didn't see the cones. My wife was going like 35, 40 miles an hour. That was the speed limit. She was going around the curve, and as soon as she went around the turn, there they were. Like, right there. Like, there was nothing to do. We were wrecking. She immediately turned the steering wheel right into the mountain wall. No brakes, nothing. And the weirdest thing happened. No or anything. When you hit the brakes, noise. It's like our car lifted off the ground and sat back down. We were like 6 inches from the wall. I remember the construction workers looking at us with their eyes open, like wide eyed, because they couldn't believe what they just seen either. They worked backwards, but God was still there. That wasn't the only time. I was going to church this time, ran out of gas, and I remember I lost my cool. I allowed the enemy to attack me then, said some words, cursing. I wasn't cursing, but now I'm cursing. I'm all mad, grabbed the gas can, started walking down to the gas station, and all of a sudden, This lady out of nowhere pulls up, and I said, "Hello?" Because I wasn't hitchhiking. I was walking to the gas station. She's like, "Hop in. God told me to pick you up." I was like, "What?" And she said, "Come on, you want to ride, don't you?" And I'm like, "Sure." I get in the car. She starts telling me stories. The first story she told me about was the only one that I really remember. And she was telling me about her car. That thing, that this car should not be running. She's been driving it like this for over 2 years now. No air conditioner, no heat, no nothing, but it just keeps running. I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I've already been on empty for miles when I should have been out of gas, and it's still running. The engine has all kind of problems with it, but it still runs. It gets me where I need to go because God," she said, "I bless over my car every day before I get in it, and He takes care of the rest." And I'm like, "Really?" So that happened then. Then there was another time I was in the basement. I was doing workouts like crazy. Me and my wife were both doing workouts. Um, it was while we were on a treadmill. She was on a treadmill. I was doing lifting the weights, and then she went over on the ball, the yoga ball, and was doing stuff on that. And I was lifting weights, and then I said, "I'm gonna do my curls," and I'll show you what I was doing. So I had 100 pounds, and I was going like this, throwing them up. Did 10 of them. Then I was throwing them up like doing the insides. All of a sudden, I'm like this. Where'd the weights go? They disappeared. I didn't see them. Next thing you know, bam, right down on my face, and it went right here and gave me 30 some stitches right here. So I was laying in a pool of blood up the steps. I made up the steps, and I realized that I was choking on my own blood. So I just said like this, like in a meditation, because I knew if I tried to breathe or do anything of movement, I wasn't going to make it. So she called the ambulance. The ambulance got here, got in the car, asked me what happened. And right before I got to tell him what happened, I started moving my legs and kept saying, "Oh God," because God showed me a vision. I shouldn't have been alive. And when I say that, two reasons. This bone never got busted, should have busted. The other thing is he moved the weights in air. What I'm saying is the weights should have came down like this. He showed me the vision on where they were coming down. They would shove my nose right in my brain, FBS. But he showed me, and he did this in my vision. That's what freaked me out. Was he went and turned them like that. That's why I brush burn here and the scar right here. And he showed me that he moved them. He showed me the vision on. I'm like, and I kept saying, "Oh God, oh God, oh God," because it was like, "Can you save me?" And then there was a time before I even was going to church. I was at a house. I was at my house. This was before I met my wife. I was 19 years old, and this was the first start of something I went through that I shouldn't have lived. And I'll tell you. So my sister and her boyfriend, she dates, and this is not racist or anything. She dates black guys, and or she was dating a black guy at the time. But I don't know how she got mixed up with this guy. His whole family was basically racist, and he didn't like my sister at times, especially when he drank, and he drank a lot. So I was, I was. This is. I'll tell you what. I was scared of my own shadow when I was growing up, so because of all the torture and stuff I went through. But this happened. He said, "Come on, let's drink." And when he said it, right, he's a controlling person. He's like, "You gonna drink?" I'm like, "Ah." He goes, "Come on, just get your stuff. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go." My sister tells people that I wanted to go. I did not want to go, but I was scared. So I went to his house in the freaking ghetto where whites didn't belong at that time, unless you knew somebody. But that's how it was. Anyway, we went to his house, and that's why we weren't touch either, because you know you had to be with somebody you knew. And so we were drinking and stuff. My fear, my scaredness, the more alcohol I got in me, I wasn't scared no more. I passed the fear blocker. I have no feelings right now. All of a sudden, he looks at me out of nowhere and goes, "Why you eyeballing me for?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about, man? I ain't eyeballing you." Oh, he's like, "Oh, you got jokes now. Oh, you think you're funny." And then he just keeps going like this and looking at me all hard. And he's like, "I'll show you something cool. You want to do stuff like that because eyeballing back in the day means that you want to tangle, you want to fight, you got a problem with them. It's just the way I look. I wasn't eyeballing. But anyway, grabs my sister by the neck, chokes her until she goes to sleep. I'm all stunned. I'm just looking at it going, "Oh my goodness, what's going on here?" Because I was stuck. I was in shock. I had no emotions because I didn't know what was going on. Because I was drunk too. So she went to sleep. A couple minutes later, she woke up crying. And he said, "You do that again?" He said, "I'm going to out your lights or something." Anyway, he said, "Let's go. Get out of my house. Let's go." So as we're leaving, he's talking all this. That's why I can't stand you kind of people, white devils, um, burned out white monkeys. I think he even called us KKK or whatever. He used every racist name you could think of. And the thing about it is he kept getting louder with it. And we walked past this park. This park's got like freaking 50 plus people playing basketball, all this stuff. He talks so loud that it gets their attention. And mind you, none of them are white. Oh my goodness, none of them. And my nephew was with us too. I forgot it. He was with us too. And he went through a few stuff in his life too. So anyway, he's seen them. And as soon as he was getting attention, they all started walking. It's like 50 of them, man. I just don't understand where they got the bats and chains from. He ran. Like 6 to 10 people ran after him. Me, I was too drunk. Plus, I was tired of running. They started crossing the street. I just kept my eyes straight in the sidewalk where I was walking, straight ahead. And one guy comes up to me and goes, "Hey man, let me get $5." I didn't see him. I said, "I ain't got $5." I just kept looking straight. All of a sudden, I felt a hand reach in my back pocket. I smacked it, and he hit me over the head with an object. It was lights out. Um, when I came to, they killed me, by the way. Yeah, they killed me. They unalived me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say killed me. Unalived. Um, so they resuscitated me. I came back. I woke up. I couldn't see. They beat me up so bad my eyes were sealed shut. Um, I had multiple blunt force trauma. I was hemorrhaging out my ears and stuff. Um, they busted all my bones in my face. And then I had a cop talking while I'm blind like this. Okay, we know the one guy. Do you know the rest of them? I said I didn't know anything because I know about consequences, repercussions for saying anything, especially talking to the cops. I never snitched on anybody. I wasn't into that. I wasn't going to do it. And then all of a sudden, I see my sister there. Well, I've not seen her, but her. She was crying, saying she's sorry. And she said, "Don't worry, Todd's in jail." I was just going back and forth as they were questioning me. All I kept saying is, "I can't see, I can't see. Where am I? I can't see." I was in intensive care for 4 months. I mean, not 4 months, I'm sorry, 4 days. Uh, when I finally could open up my eyes after the fourth day, I had to see everything slanted to see it straight. I had to wear sunglasses for a month. They busted every blood vessel in my eye. Now, remember I told you they busted every bone? That's where the Lord came in. He healed it. He healed it. I don't know how, but he healed it. Um, the other thing was is I was told in the report I was labeled as John Doe because they took my wallet. Um, also, I didn't get help right away. My sister, when she saw that they were coming after me and coming after her, she hurried up and got away from me and ran to the nearest payphone inside one store, called the cops. So the ambulance showed up before the cops, but they couldn't treat me because it says in the report when they got there was 10 to 15 people still beating up on me. So they had to wait for the cops to arrive. And then the cops had to wait for more cops because there was too many people. So um, I shouldn't have lived. They said the multiple blunt force trauma was the same force as getting hit with a sledgehammer at full force. One fear was beat out of me. First off, I went through 5 years of PTSD. I couldn't see straight because I did have some brain damage. So I was like in another world when I was going down the street. It would fix my brain now, but I couldn't go outside. I stayed in the house. I remember going out and getting mail one time because it was outside the house. And if I would wait for cars to go by, so there would be nobody out there. I look out the window through the blind, and the one So he came out of nowhere. And as I was walking to get the mail, he went by me, and I was like, I started saying stuff I shouldn't, but I said a whole bunch of stuff like that, and hurry up and got the mail and ran in the house. I think I got the mail, but I ran in the house. That went on like that for 5 years. I didn't want to leave the house. I even called crisis up one time and told them how I felt and everything, and they were even scared to talk to me because I went through a lot of trauma. They said, "Just do me a favor." She said, "I'm not going to call the cops. I'm not going to call anybody, but just please shut the door and lock yourself in and stay in there. Don't get any weapons or anything." So apparently, I was acting like a psychopath to her or something. I don't know, but yeah. Then I ran into, and the weirdest thing is that wasn't there. That wasn't it. There's another time. Me and my wife were living on Pearl Street, and my sister calls me. Me and my sister, my one sister, we were really close. We both went through wars. She went through multiple beatings, and I mean, I've seen her head go through the wall and stuff. I got her boyfriend later because he used to beat on me too. I threw him like a rag doll. But anyway, her new boyfriend was a Christian. This guy was awesome. Um, we were considered my best friend. He even talked up to my dad. My dad always made fun of me. He said, "You should be proud of your son. He's washed the dishes, watched the kids, does a really good job. You should be proud of him." And my dad laughed and said, "What?" But anyway, she calls me and she says, "Hey, bud, what's up?" And I said, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "Hey, you wanna hang out and drink with me tonight? We're gonna head over to the bar and stuff like that and have a couple drinks. You wanna come along?" And I said, "Sure, I'd like to come, man. Yeah." And I told my wife, I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna go out with my sister tonight." And she's like, "If you leave, I'm not coming back. I'm leaving and I'm not coming back." I said, "Why are you saying that?" "Because I don't want you to go." And I'm like, "But it's my sister." She's like, "I just don't have a good feeling about this." So I said, "All right." I told my sister, I said, "Yeah, I ain't gonna be able to make it tonight, but next time, okay?" And she's like, "All right, bro. I'll talk to you later." And that was the last time I talked to her. The next day, I got a letter on my door. My one brother doesn't deal with me at all just because he don't like me. I don't know. Anyway, there's a note on my door. Call Billy immediately. That's his name, Billy. And I didn't even get a chance to call him. I forget who uh, ran up and told me. I can't really remember. But what I do remember is someone telling me that my sister's in the hospital and she's dead, or she's unalive. Sorry. And went to the hospital. I went in the doors. Then they said, "How may I help you?" In the emergency department. And I said, "I'm here to see my sister." And she's like, "Who? What's your name?" And I said, "I'm here to see my sister." I couldn't think. And I said, "Where is she? Where is she? Where is she?" And she's like, "Who do you need?" And then I said, gone, all right, she's gone. Or I didn't say that. I said something else, but I don't want to say it in there. But she held security. Security locked all the doors. But I had adrenaline because of the accident. I did something to me like Incredible Hulk, I guess. So I just unimaginable strength, and I just went like that to the doors, and then flew off of the shingles. You know, what was holding them in place. I knocked it off its trail just by going like that. And I was running through the hospital, and they were young security and all. I wound up finding Bill's room, and he kept saying he's sorry. He's all banged up, and he's like, kept saying he's sorry and stuff like that. I said, "Where's mom?" Couldn't even talk right. Just like, "Oh no, I'm sorry, man." I said, "Sorry, sorry. Where's Robin?" He's like, "I don't know." I said, "They took her somewhere over there downstairs." And wound up finding out where she was. She was down at the morgue, and the security called up. They understood. They let me go. They wanted me out of the hospital though, but I wasn't leaving until I see my sister. So I ran again, and then they said, "Stop." They said, we'll take you, okay? We'll take you." So they took me down to the morgue. They pulled out the drawer. It almost didn't even look like my sister. She had staples going the whole down side of her face. She finally got the liver life, and the Lord took her. The kids went to the abusive father. Yeah, it was sad. See, that's why I understand why God does certain things. But He does it for a reason that we don't know yet. But the main reason why I brought this up is because I was supposed to go. If I would have went, I would have been in there too. And I forgot to mention, she got unalived in a car accident. I don't know exactly. It's still conspiracy about what exactly happened. But the only news that I have is what they said, that apparently they were drag racing with the two other people that I know that aren't the best people. And it's sad. My sister didn't know any better, but she was so used to being controlled, being with Bill, this other guy who was Christian like and stuff, was really nice to her when he basically saved her from all this stuff because her boyfriend tried to tried to come in his way and stuff. And Bill took care of him, slammed him down and all that stuff. But and he was a good driver. He was like really good race car driver and stuff, basically. And even showed me some skills that works. Like if you keep your eye on the corner of the front of your car, first line on your side, you always stay in the middle of the white line and the yellow line in the middle of the road, so you're not too far over too much. Anyway, so I trusted his driving even if he was drunk. But drag racing, something happened. I believe they were forced off the road. So I really honestly believe that. But I don't know exactly what happened, so I can't speculate. It's just I know the devious of the other people. But I keep saying that because I'm trying to get into it. Because I really don't know, but just feel the belief. But so anyway, they went around a bend, and that's when it happened. That's why I said they got veered off the road because right around the turn, they didn't make the turn. They went like this. They went airborne in through a tree and in through somebody's house at the bottom of this hill. So she had blunt force trauma, killed her or unalived her. And I heard other stories like I didn't see the bottom half, but apparently she was sort of ripped and tore up or whatever. But I keep saying that because I don't want to get too far detailed. I don't know what's allowed on this channel now. I might have said some stuff I shouldn't have said. I didn't mean to. Just trying to speak facts here about me. So people can say whether they like me, they don't, or but I'm sharing my story because I'm trying to reach people. Anyway, the reason why I talked about all this because I want you guys to understand the story. I was supposed to go that night. What I was thinking, and I was angry with my wife for keeping me home, is I said I could have saved her. But then I realized the reason why I listened to my wife. It was God again. And when I say that is, if I would have went, most likely, very probable, I would have been dead too. Because I saw the accident, or unalive. I saw it. And all the seats in the car looked like somebody ripped them apart and threw them around. The car is basically flat, the top end, so I don't even know how Bill survived it because later he unalived himself with a rope. I guess he couldn't deal with it. So, but anyway, what I'm saying is, if I would have went, that would have been the one shot that I wouldn't have been able to come from back from. I have to believe it like that for the simple fact is all the other stuff that I made it through that I shouldn't have made it through. So I'm here for a reason. Is what I'm saying. Uh, going through that, going through this, going through that. Even the last time before I was hospitalized, I had a plan. I was going to the nearest bridge. I even made a slip knot, and I was gonna allow myself to rope or with an extension. If my wife didn't call the hospital and get a 302 on me, that's what I would have done. So God reached me in there, and that's when I first really grabbed a hold of it and went with it. First, I had to be on these drugs that numb me. I couldn't show emotions. I was like in a catatonic state. I had to break through that. My wife didn't even want me around because I called her brother up and was talking to him. And he's like, my sister don't want to be with you. So I don't know, brother. You got to figure it out. And I said, God does miracles, right? And he's like, yeah, God can do miracles. But brother, he's been with you so many times and you keep messing up. I really don't think you're going to have another more chance to burn all your chances. That's when I really, really plead with God. save my marriage and my family and everything. So when I came out of the hospital, it started. The car wouldn't start. Here, the insurance didn't go through or something. They said they couldn't turn it on until 3 days later. It was pouring raining. I started looking online. I started freaking out. And my son, my wife's on the other phone crying, can't figure it out with the car and all that stuff. And I was looking at the wires. I pulled this and yanked this one wire. It started beeping. She started the car. It started. So what I did was I pulled the security wire out. So whenever we were late in our payments, I would just disconnect it. Well, one time I had it disconnected too long. The GPS had been towed the car. So anyway, but what I'm saying is, our first argument, I didn't even get a chance to get 10 miles. He started he was saying a whole bunch of stuff, and I went in there and got some Zens because I wasn't smoking, and I was very stressed. I wasn't stressed the whole time. I was anxious. I wanted to see my wife, and I couldn't believe that she gave me another chance. I couldn't honestly believe it. But she was making me reap what I sowed, pretty mean to me. Call me different names and stuff, and I probably deserved a lot of it. Um, but it was kind of easy because I was numb by this medication. So I didn't really understand what was going on. I felt it, but then all of a sudden, guess what happened? I couldn't stop crying. I was crying all the time and saying I'm sorry because now I feel it. Every day I was crying, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, I got this weakling punk crying," and I'm like, I'm sorry," And I even tried to work. I had a panic attack, froze up. They had to wheelchair me out, call, get a ride home. Well, there goes our income. There I am crying again, saying I'm sorry. I was just really messed up. And she's like, "You didn't change. You didn't change. You can't work at a job." And then I started listening to what she was saying, and I let her say certain things. But I spoke up because if I didn't speak up, she would have left. And the only way I could speak up is if I dropped the medication. So I stopped taking it. It's still in my system even now. It doesn't leave your system for a year to 18 months. So it's still in my system. That's why I got the weakening of the eyes and stuff. It takes a long time for it to get out of your system. That Haldol stuff. And so I started doing better, not looking like a zombie. Started coming out of it, but I was still waking up loopy. So as I'm getting better with that, I started working a job. Next thing you know, it's a problem with me working, getting a job, and my daughter with the kids. Who's gonna watch them? She won't have nobody. So my wife watches. It's overwhelming for my wife. So now I lose the job. Then we get the car back. Then we lose the car because we can't afford the payments. And that was it. we spend way too much money. We had to pay like $600 to get the car back, and 400 and some dollars a month. And the car needed work on it, needed shocks, struts, check engine light was on, it needed thermostat, needed probably a coolant pump, a compressor for the AC. It just needed everything because they these freaking buy here, pay here places. They just fix the car up enough, or they get their state inspection stickers and all that stuff, so then they can just put tags on stickers on your car to make it seem like it's new when they probably spend like they buy in sets, so they probably spend like $4 or $5,000 and got 10 cars and selling them each one for like $5 or $6,000 and not even 5 6 thousand. They sell them cars for like, what did we get ours? $12,000 for a 2011 Honda Civic. $12,000 when you can buy a used one brand new for $2,000. When I say brand new, I mean in used condition for $12,000. You're talking about a new Honda. But anyway, so she was giving up hope. She's like, "You never gave me security. You never gave me a reason why I want to stay with you." But I'll tell you why she's staying with me. She's staying with me because I asked God. She's staying with me because there was this one time back in our old place that she was calling it quits. She had a whole plan and everything. She went like this. She was facing the wall, turning towards me, and I don't know what happened from here to facing me, but she went from hating me, she's leaving, she already had a plan, facing me and saying, "I'm sorry, I just want to work it out with you." And I said, "Oh my goodness." And I said this to myself in my head, "Thank you, God." And when I announced it to her, anyway, she wanted to give me another shot. So she did. I mean, that wasn't the only time she gave me shots and stuff like that. But the only reason why she did give me shots is because of God. He's the ultimate leader. So when you think of doing some damage to yourself or to others, I'll tell you this. I will tell you this. Go to Jesus, and I'll tell you, He will help you ways that you couldn't even imagine. I'm only sharing my story because I don't want to see any more of someone taking their life, someone hurting herself, and someone doing something stupid without getting proper warning. Plus, the Lord put me in a place where I was supposed to be. I was actually supposed to be a mentor. That's what I came out of the hospital to do anyway, to talk to people, to work for organizations, and help people because of what I went through. Because I shouldn't be here, and I shouldn't be here. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here. If there wasn't a God, I would not be here. So I'm glad I got all this off my chest. So I'm not gonna be a follower anymore. I'm gonna lead my life the way God wants me to lead it. So, in other words, if God says jump out, just say how high. The old military term. But the last thing I got from the one thing I watched it's in my post. You can go and check it out. Might help you. But it's what he has me for Psalm 23, Psalm 35, and Psalm 91. And I'm only sharing this because if someone's going through something like the way or what I'm going through or how they're feeling or anything like that, search God because we're really not meant to suffer. We, well, I'm here to help people. And there's an old saying, how can you help anybody when you can't help yourself? You're absolutely right. So that's why I'm in the process of fixing myself up, but just sharing my story so people can like, well, he went through all that, or I went through worse, whatever the case is. But it's just to let you know that you're not alone, that I went through stuff too. I tried and tried and tried and didn't try it on certain things, you know? And this leg broke like this, it could be a lot worse. A lot of different other stuff could happen. So I'm just taking this as a lesson. You need to slow down, and if you don't slow down, I'm going to slow you down. And the main thing is God wants one-on-one. When I was here, I was always busy, dishes, cleaning, didn't matter. I always had one job, sometimes two. So, oh, I can't reach that. But yeah, I always had one job, sometimes two, but sometimes three. But what he was telling me is, since you can't slow down because you're not leadership in your household, I'm gonna have to slow you down to get you to understand. So that's why I'm hemmed up. I guess now I have all the time in the world. They're out there dashing, making money, and I'm in here healing. But I'm in here getting closer with God and sharing love, basically, because perfect love casts out all fear. So the more you have of God, the more you have of serenity, peace, understanding, love, and adventure. God will put you on an adventure, but if you don't keep your eyes on Him, it's going to be like a plague than an adventure. Adventures, you know what adventures are like, wild and crazy, or can be, and sometimes it's just peace and relaxing. And I hope you guys follow me, and I'm just saying I hope because I'm a people person. I like talking to people. I like hearing their side of whatever, and I like to share mine as well because a lot of stuff I went through is unimaginable. You know, and I'll use the term, but I ain't saying the word because everybody knows what it is. A lot of stuff I went through, people would say that's BS, but it's not. And I'm sorry for using that term, but it's unimaginable. So guess what? It's unbelievable. a lot of the stuff that you went through, I bet, is the same thing for yous that went through hardship. But a lot of stuff, which I'm ashamed of, I am. I put it on myself. I put myself in these positions because I wasn't strong enough to believe, keep my faith up, because it was easy to turn away than to go through it, in my eyes. But I honestly believe now that it would have been easier if I would have just listened. Because the thing about it is when you try to do stuff yourself, you can't do everything yourself. I had a business, you can't do everything yourself. You'll burn out, break your back, or won't be able to move it, whatever it is. So he has to be the one to help you because he helped me. He wants to take the weight. He wants to take the burden, so you don't have to stress yourself out. He wants to be there for you in a way that you couldn't even imagine. But all I know is that it's good for you. You ever get disciplined when you're a kid and you didn't know why you got blamed for it? The whole thing about that one thing, he might have did it even though you didn't deserve it. But what I went through, what it taught me to respect. The problem is people took advantage of that over the years. But then again, I took advantage too because I didn't listen to God. I decided to put my wife as leadership and my house fell apart. So I messed up. That's what caused me to ultimately, you know, cheat on her. Now, I didn't sleep with another girl. She thought I did, but I basically did. I showed my private parts. I gave her lots of kisses. I talked love in a relationship to a person online, sending money and stuff, and because of the attention, I was craving the attention and didn't know it and was sideswiped. Didn't even know what I was doing. Even was going to leave my wife. I didn't know what I was doing. I really did. Because my conscience was screwed up to where I even think back and I'm like, what the heck was I doing? What did I do that for? It came out to be that I was looking for attention. It's like looking for love in all the wrong places, like the song, you know? And I'm glad she stuck by me. That's why I do what I sow. That's why I let her do or say whatever she wants. Did I get smacked around by her? Oh, yeah. I remember one time, well, she got me good, and I got out of the car and slammed the car door, almost busted off its hinges. And this guy looked at me in his truck because we were driving, my wife was, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Kirsten, she hit me." I started walking. I probably got about a mile up the road where she came back, turned around, and was waiting for me across the street. I kept walking. I was still mad. She kept following me. Then she yells, "Come on, get in the car. I'm sorry." I was like, "What's wrong with you?" Because she does it out of the blue. Which, you know what? Those were wake up calls. Those were feelings. She's hurt, and I did it. So I was taking any punishments. So I had to take the physical and mental. She belittled me a lot, and I didn't fulfill my promises. I promised her a house, which were an apartment. I promised her a house. We were in motels. I promised her a house. We were homeless. And the one job I had to drive 2 hours to get there and 2 hours to get home. Roughly an hour and a half though. Um, yeah, it was an hour and a half away. But I said 2 hours because it all depended on the traffic. If it was easy, an hour and a half. Traffic, 2 hours. So I had to get up at like 4 in the morning to get to the job by 7 o'clock. Um, so I worked there for a while, but we were staying like a campsite, where I had to get approved because there was kids around and stuff. I had to get a safety check, make sure I didn't have any charges against minors or anything like that. We both got psychological testing, so, and plus we had to do a background check. So that's where we stayed for a couple months. Um, they picked us up in the hotel or the motel and stayed out there. But I went through more wars than I could explain. Probably a good 3 or 4, 15 minute to an hour chapters. It's a lot. But you know what? There's no way possible. There's just no way that I did it without God. Whether He was in me at the time, and my wife, and both of us, there's just no way that we should be together or me be alive without God. I'm telling you the truth. Because I talked to the brother later after she let me in again, and he said, I can't believe that she gave you another shot. I really can't. He said, and I told him, well, you got to say anything. I said, it's God, man. And he's like, it's got to be. He said, because there's no other way. The way she was talking, of how disgusted she is with you, she never took you back. So I came to a point now where when I first came home, I was attached to her like glue. I let her talk to me any way she wanted. I still wanted to be around her. I would cry and all that stuff. She called me and whatever. Because I was reaping what I sowed, literally. So now I came to, she's going to begin a job, I think, Wises or whatever. She's outdoor dashing right now with my daughter. And I'm happy. I'm happy for her. I want her to do whatever she can do. She's a little upset because she has to work right now because I'm not working. But we're gonna get through this, and with God on my side, I know we're gonna make it. The only thing I have to do is not pay attention to the storm. Just keep my eyes focused on God. It's like this old song I sang. I want more of Jesus, more and more and more. I want more of Jesus than I've ever had before. I want more of His great love, so give it up to me. I want more of Jesus to live full faithfully. and I solely believe that whether anybody is with me or against me, I am doing His work as He intended me for me to do, and I will continue to talk to people if they want to hear it or not. When I say they want to hear it or not, I'm saying because we're all fighting battles. So you may want to hear me, but don't want to hear me. And again, it's because what our minds is corrupted to with the way the world is, the fast pace, the prices rising like unbelievable, the wages dropping, the job market's going to different nations and different people going different companies, and it doesn't even feel like America anymore. So I can't deal with all that. So I'm just gonna deal with what God leads me and pray for the rest because I can't do nothing about it. It's like you can't put more weight than you can handle, and when you're doing something, ask God's help. He wants to help you, and He wants to be there when you need Him. But there's also times you have to do stuff yourself, where you have to come out of your comfort zone and you have to figure stuff out yourself. But He will help you along the way. You just have to take the first step. So that's what I'm doing. And if I fall, what does He say? If you fall, you're in a simple world. You're gonna fall. You're not perfect. Just get back up and just start where you left off. If you backslid a little bit, just get back up. Get back up on the horse. I'll take the reins. Just get up. Just don't give up. Get up. Don't give up. Get up. So if I want my life to change after all the stuff he's done, just like the old saying goes in the Bible too, you know, with the faith of a mustard seed. If you ever seen a mustard seed is probably one of the smallest seeds. It's really, really small, like maybe a centimeter, half a centimeter. He said, with the faith of just that small, you can move mountains. And it's actually not good to be rich because, like the Bible says, it's easier to put a camel through an eye hole of a needle than it is for a rich man to get to heaven. Okay? If God would ask you to give it all up, would you give it all up? See, God don't want part of you. He doesn't want 50, 70. He wants 100%. If you can give 110%, he'll take that too. But when you give more than what he expects, get this, you get more blessings. You get more rewards. And when he says wait patiently, remember, one day is like 2,000 years to God. I mean, 2,000 years is like one day to God. So just be patient and he'll fulfill it. And it's not going to be the way you want it, but you will enjoy it if you keep your eyes on him. You won't see it if you don't, because he gives us blessings all the time. But if we're not seeking him all the time, we're not going to see it all the time. Whether it be a little nugget or a big nugget of treasure, that's what you hold on to, and that's what I'm going to hold on to. And I hope that whoever listens to this whole thing that I said, that they take it in consideration of understanding instead of punishment. Like, boy, this guy's a loser. This guy's because ultimately it doesn't matter what you say, but when you say bad stuff. You're allowing bad stuff in your mind to say something bad. What you can say all you want is, it's not hurting me, it's hurting you. It's not hurting me. That's why I'm saying I worry more about you because of what is corrupting in your mind. So I want the best for you, just like the saying goes, treat others as you want to be treated. So if you want people to be nice to you, regardless if they're not, that people ain't nice back, it does come back. It does. So treat others as you want to be treated. Everybody wants to be treated like dirt. Everybody wants a fair shake or fair, give, accept, however. Just be kind, courteous, and respectful, and the same stuff will come back to you. Maybe not when you expect it, but definitely when you need it. And our needs and the needs God's had for us is two different things. So don't lean on your own understanding. You gotta lean on His understanding. And I'm saying this because when I'm preaching, I gotta practice this too, because I'm no different. I'm just human. I'm just out there trying my best, but failing multiple times at it because I'm not listening. Like a disobedient child. And so I was getting cracked around a lot. So in order for me not to get disciplined by my loving God, I have to listen to what He's telling me and do the best I can do and follow through with things. And if I'm late, at least you're there. So many circumstances happen nowadays that you can't help it. It's just go. Don't say I'm going to be late, so there's no worth in going and all this stuff. Because when you forfeit, you automatically lose. You know that forfeit means lose. But if you try your hardest, at least I tried. That's the thing. You're not going to win every battle, but as long as you fought and tried your best, there is a reward. And I heard this one sermon. It said, um, if you do the best you can, there's a blessing. And what that means is, if you are going through, let's just say, hell on earth in your household or wherever you're at, that's a notion that you're on the right track and God's going to get you through this. And there's a blessing on the other side. Because if you're not going through anything, that means the enemy already knows he has you. So you better be worried about that. But if you're going through like all kind of wars and stuff like that, it's because the enemy's trying to hurt you. Try to get you to just get God out of your mind, just get God out of your life, come back over here. You know what I mean? Come back into Egypt with us. Come back in, but we need to stay out. Stay out of the world. Stay out of the worldly pleasures because the world is circumstantial. Relationships are circumstantial. You know, um, it's all if and buts. Uh, Follow throughs. However, everything that isn't on solid ground is the world. There's no promises, but with God, it's a promise. well, your God is causing this and this, and looks what we're going through. He will take care of us. Okay, He is aware of what's going on, but we're going through it because maybe we have to get more of Him. Because the more we have of God, the better off we are. Like I said that song earlier, I want more of Jesus, more and more and more, because we need that to get through these storms. So whoever's with me, follow or subscribe, like, share, comment, give me your understanding, and you know, leave me a comment on what you're going through. And I'm not looking at the camera because I don't need to show my face, but I will. I want everybody that I speak to be saved. I don't want anybody to go through the wars I went through any more than they have to, and I don't want to see anybody go to hell. So if I can help you, I will. And I am helping myself now. But I'm just sharing right now. I'm just sharing my testimony, telling you there's always a way out with God. But without God, it's bondage, being trapped, and no ending of chaos, hell, feeling. And here's the thing: don't go off feelings. And I gotta remember this too. Go off of feelings, you're putting yourself out there for an attack. And if you're not guarded with a shield and you don't have your sword sharpened, like earlier, my daughter didn't want to hear what I was listening to. She turned it off. That's fine. I got my Bible. I can just read this. Remember not the sins of my mouth or my transgressions, according to your steadfast love. Remember me for the sake of your goodness, O Lord. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore, he instructs sinners in the way. He leads the humble in what is right and teaches the humble his way. So we have to humble ourselves a lot. Maybe all the time at times. Because the more we humble ourselves, the more God can work through us and get us to the place where He's trying to get us to, instead of us leading ourselves into damnation. And we already know what that is: struggle, catastrophe, feeling like it anyway, and stirred up crazy in the mind, anxiety, fear, lust, envy, strife, all this stuff where it's away from God. So, anyway, Uh, I will enjoy talking to you. So you guys have a blessed day, and I don't know if I'm gonna get on later or not, but for now, I thank you for listening, and I hope this helps you out. And God bless you all. I love you all. That's what God says. You know, love it. Love your neighbors. You love yourself. So honor your neighbor. Pray for them if they're mean or whatever. We can talk. Text me on here. Comment, share. I'm just here to share my story and share my life to hopefully help you out and give you insights on. Hey, don't give up. There's a way. We all want peace, so we can have it together. Like the one guy said that I was listening to, seeing the clouds. All right. Well, I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.